Right, let's get into that ESIC stuff then. So I'll set the story up like this. If people don't know, over the years when they came out, it was basically from 2020 on. People will know, like around autumn of 2020. Funnily enough, when the qualification for the last attempt at the Rio Major was, if people remember the timeline a few years back. What happened was ESIC, through the guy who used to work as an admin for ESL, came out with this. They discovered there was a coaching bug where basically coaches could essentially not, instead of just being a guy watching all the POVs, they could be in like a third person position, or there was a whole bunch of different bugs, but mainly it was that, like, either they were stuck in a position, it was like famously the joke was, it was like a cipher cam from Valorant, if people know, where you could sort of see what was going on, or sometimes they could even actually move around as well. And what happened was there was the first wave, which caught loads of people, and some people even got banned who weren't even famous coaches, like obviously like Dead did it for like one round or something, on a pistol round or something. There was a bunch of different people got like different incidents, right? And then over the years, there's been a couple more waves where there was a different slight variation of the bug, and then more people would get banned and more people. But the key thing to explain at the beginning, before I ask you this question, is one, a Valve ban is separate from the ESIC ban. The ESIC bans are shorter, and they tend to actually be more in line with what most people think. Like, for example, if someone did it like at one instance, they get like a few months, that's it. The Valve bans are different. They did this weird system where each like incident like took like a major off you or something, and so there's really weird ones where, like, famously Gary can't do it for like 2 more majors or something, and will have missed like 5. And then probably the maddest one is, I think Raging is just like banned forever or something insane like that. Like, you can just like, even if there's like 50 majors, I guess you can never play again or something, like something outrageous like that. So basically, those are two separate issues. We're talking about the ESIC one here, the shorter ones. Like, the problem is none of us can contact Valve. Like, I never do interviews with Valve. No one knows what they do or how they decide it. So we're talking mainly about the ESIC one now, right? So the ESIC one, in your case, was one of the most recent waves of like a different version of the bug. And in theory, right, this is what I want to get to. So first of all, there's 2 parts to the opening question. One is, one of the problems you faced is you yourself, when the first wave came out a couple of years ago, were actually one of the vocal coaches who sort of was like, yeah, like, shame on these cheaters, but like, don't worry, you'll never see me involved with one of those bugs. Basically, you basically just openly said that. Yeah. It was very rare that anyone said that, because normally you would think, like, a lot of people, like, what if I am? Like, so most people, that actually made it seem like you were super against it. And then the other thing, obviously, is you were only, your thing only came to light. I mean, it was actually this year. It was early this year when I heard the same story. It was you. People might know this instance. I know this hasn't been made as explicit. Zonic was one of them. There was like you, Zonic, and there was like a third person. I forget who it was. I think, I can't remember who it was anyway, but it was another, maybe like a CIS coach or something. So basically, give us the initial thing there. 1, why did you say that thing years ago? And then 2, how is this bug to you different from the other one?
Well, answering your first question, I mean, I said it because I meant it. Like, when I first heard about the first cases, was absurd to me, and I knew that, like, being a coach that has been around for a long time. When for example, when Valve changed the coaching rule back in the days, and I had been very vocal as well, multiple times with Valve. I tried contacting them through email. I tried to message them on the Twitter page. I tried, to voice my opinion multiple times publicly that, I think they were just too drastic in the way they communicate with the community, with us coaches, with the pro scene and stuff like that has been terrible. So I always gave feedback whenever I didn't think that it was the right compromise, and it wasn't, and I always did it in a way that it wasn't like just heavy criticizing Valve. Basically, I always try to share my opinion on what could be a better solution or give a better compromise to the situations, and that's just an example. And then when the bans came from ESIC and Valve and all that kind of stuff, again, one of those situations that it's just terrible, right? Like, there was multiple cases, like absurd cases of people actually cheating. I mean, Honden is a good example, and there's also the CIS coach from Akuma or something like that. That was
Hard Legion, was the famous one.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I see those cases, I knew that that was a massive turning point. That, again, it would hurt not only me as a coach, but the community in general. I knew that it would affect a lot of the teams. Things would change, the way they would see coaches. Like, and there's always this thing, has always been the scene of this thing that Valve doesn't really like coaches. And then some people go and cheat and do that kind of stuff that you just give them like fuel to basically be like, oh, we're right. And now coaches have even less power than they actually had back in the days. So when that happened, that got me really concerned about my job, my career, and some of my friends, my colleagues as well. So that's why I was vocal. And when that happened, being completely honest with you, I didn't even think for a second when I tweeted that. I didn't even think for a second like, well, did it happen to me at any time or stuff like that? Like, it didn't even cross to my mind. And then after I tweeted, some people contacted me and said, hey, Lewis, like, that's a nice tweet and stuff like that. Nice that you're voicing your opinion, but are you 100% sure that you're not one of the cases, like, you're not going to be banned in the future and stuff like that? And then I was obviously like, that got me like, yeah, I mean, I don't remember it. Like, I definitely don't remember like cheating an entire game and giving info and that kind of stuff. So, like, my conscience was like, well, I'm fine. Like, I don't remember anything at all. I tried to see some of the games. I tried, but I didn't know. I didn't have the tools, and I didn't know how to, basically see if I was bugged, whether or not. Like, I only realized that after the rumors came out, after my situation happened. That's when I actually contacted Michal, the admin, and he explained to me how to trigger to see if I was bugged or not. So back in the days, I was just like, well, whatever. And then, yeah, what was your second question again?
And then basically, like, when this wave came along, like, give us some thoughts. Like, how was this version of the bug to you significantly different to the one that Hunden and the rest used?
Yes, I think it is different, but I think the biggest thing for me has to always be like the intention. And at least in my case, and some of the other cases that I saw, right? I think there is a massive difference for me, at least, if you trigger the bug and if you actively use it and you share information. Clearly you're sharing information. And especially for me, if you, for example, even if you don't if you trigger the bug, that's terrible, right? Like, if people trigger the bug, like, they
as in intentionally, like you did it on purpose.
Intentionally, yeah, did it on purpose. For me, like, there's no excuse. Then if you find yourself in a bug, and which was a lot of the cases, even, I even heard about Zonic and some of the other coaches that still hasn't come out. If you find yourself in a bug, and for me at least, if you find yourself in a bug, at first place you don't know how to react and whatever, which was my case at least, and then you try to actually disconnect and you try to do stuff like that. For me, that's enough for me to see that, well, the guy didn't want to be bugging, didn't want to be cheating. He disconnected immediately or reacted in a way that clearly you can see he's not comfortable, which wasn't my case. I'm gonna get there. Like, I know the mistakes I did, so with those cases, then I think it's a lot different. It doesn't matter for me if it's a third-person bug, free room, which was my case, or whatever. Like, I think it all comes down to, like, if the guy actually wanted to cheat or not. And so, yeah, answering your question, I think it is different to some extent. For me, at least, it has to be more about the intention, if the guy actually shared the information or not.
Yes. I mean, I will say this is one area where actually I probably did go too hard at you on Twitter on that, because the problem is this, right? It's the concept of, if we establish there are rules and we all agree, like, we're all going to follow these rules. That's what I was mad about, is that we've established these rules and we have punished loads of other people that did, by the way, did less than you did. Like, as you say, some people like Rob and Gary, they just had a bug get triggered on them. And in that case, some of them did nothing, literally walked away from the PC, didn't move it, like, but they all got punished. They all got, like, Roban couldn't, I mean, this is a Valve one again. Roban couldn't stand there when his team won the major. Gary can't go to any fucking majors. Like, like, I know ESIC ban's different, but the point is they got punished for it, right? So my problem is, are we accepting that these rules are legit? Because if not, you're actually making an interesting point, which is, funny enough, what people originally said about the whole thing with the players as well. As, like, obviously it matters if players knew about it, or if the person just never said anything. That's different. Because the problem I have basically with this whole topic is, basically, in your particular case, those other people who got punished, who did nothing, you did actually, like, move around, etc. So the issue is, we've established the precedent in Counter-Strike. Now, the point is, you're opening this up to debate. Like, maybe this shouldn't be the precedent. The precedent before was, if the bug happened, I know this might sound mad because a lot of fans don't know this is how extreme the rule is. The rule basically is, it's not if you did anything. It's not if you communicate anything. It's not even if you move the mouse. It's if you don't immediately, like, disconnect or tell the admin. That if you don't do that, basically, under the ESIC system, you have already violated, like, the rules, and you will be punished. Like, even if that's one round, as is the case with certain people I've referenced earlier, whether that's like a bunch of rounds and you did nothing and there's not even any proof, you could even have been staring at a wall the whole time. It doesn't matter. The ruling is essentially almost the same. It's the number of instances. Now, in your case, you're making an interesting point, which is, if the bug happened, true, you didn't get out of it, you didn't tell admin, maybe you were stuck in it. Like, this is an old school example. People didn't know how these bugs worked, how the interactions worked. But at the same time, your argument is, as long as you don't talk to the players, though, you didn't cheat. Like, you might have had some more information, but Right. So essentially, this is the question I would have though: is does that mean then that in your opinion, based on how your cases run, we should actually reopen a whole bunch of these cases? Maybe we should push back where the precedent is. Maybe it should be more lenient in that sense. Should more people have not been punished? Do you think?
100%. Like, in my opinion, it should have been even before my cases. Some of the way, I mean, just in general, the way the cases were handled for me is just not fair enough to some of those coaches. Ruga, for example, Robin, Gary, Apoka, some others, right? It does give me like a bitter taste just to think that about the fact that I got, like, being completely honest, the fact that I got unbanned after a month. Yes, I missed Amazing and stuff like that, but just the fact that my case looks a lot worse than Gary and Apoka and Robin and stuff like that. And just the fact that I managed to get myself unbanned and those guys stayed for a long time without competing, and even up until today being banned and stuff like that, it's just terrible. Like, I don't get it at all. I don't feel happy at all and proud about it at all. Just even though I got unbanned, I think yes, some of those cases should have been reviewed and should be reviewed. And it's just like my opinion on the way ESIC handled this has been very bad from the very beginning. And it does raise me a couple questions about, I heard. So here's the thing: when my situation came out, right? This is the way I see it. Like, for me, it's already wrong. The fact that I hear about my case, and basically I heard it through a journalist who basically had somehow access to the video, shared it before ESIC, and then there creates a huge drama in my life because I was boot camping with the Imperial guys prior to the major. Then the news come out, and then that raises me the first question: like, how is this journalist or this website has somehow access to a private material that he shouldn't have, and then he releases it before ESIC? So that for me already raises a question. Like, there has to be someone working for ESIC who somehow shared this material to someone who shared. Like, I don't care about the way it happened, but that itself is already wrong. That that it happened this way. The second thing is,
as far as I know as well, by the way, that's been the case the whole way through this ESIC coaching bug thing. Like, I myself, and I'm not even trying to do it, just do like my source network. I always get info like a month or two before the people get banned. Like, I even knew there's only one before the major. Like, this one's coming up, this one's coming up.
Exactly.
Like, it just permeates through the scene. Yeah, you're right. It leaks out.
That it leaks out, and it shouldn't be this way. If they wanted to be treated with respect and, as a respectable organization who's dealing with it the best way they could and stuff like that, it definitely shouldn't be this way. So that's the first thing that I don't like it. Then just in general, like, from the very beginning, just the fact that they don't talk, like, they didn't even give people like a way of, like, trying to defend themselves. For them, it didn't really matter. As you said, like, it was just like, if you find yourself bugged and you didn't disconnect, whatever. Like, you're gonna get banned for whatever certain period of time, depends on the case by case and how bad it looks and all that kind of stuff. That is the wrong as well. And at least particularly about my case, I think I even told you this privately, but I would actually like to share this with the public, right? Like, when this happened with me, it was an ECS game, Faceit match back in the days, like 3-4 years ago, right? And when this happened, clearly, I didn't know about it. When this happened to me, I was definitely, like, not reacting properly. I didn't disconnect. That was the biggest mistake, and one that I would accept a punishment for. Just the fact that I didn't disconnect, I didn't react properly, even though I do show a little bit, like, I try to disconnect, I come back, I'm trying to fix it, but I cannot prove it completely because there's no communications recorded and stuff like that. But I'm trying to disconnect and trying to fix it. But the thing for me, the biggest thing for me is just the fact that I heard it after my case went public. I talked to multiple people in the scene, you, Richard Lewis, a lot of, like, Anders Moses, players. I tried to ask them their opinions about my case, how they see it, how they view the whole ESIC thing, and then I started to think about, like, after I started to talk to some of these players, some of these people, I know for a fact, I'm not going to put any names out there, but I know for a fact that at the same time my bug was happening, some other coaches actually found themselves in a bug, communicated that to Faceit and to ECS or whatever tournament organizer was, and basically if they had a response back in the days, people were using Skype to do vetoes and stuff like that. So some of those logs are lost, and some of them even have the logs. Which raises me the question of why the second wave didn't happen yet. because I think like there's a massive like problem with the ESIC. I think they found themselves doing something wrong or something like that, because I know for a fact that some of the coaches actually communicated, and that puts me in a position to think like, if this was happening and an admin was aware, Faceit was aware, ECS was aware, why they didn't communicate publicly like, hey, the situation happened with the coach X at this time, look at the video, and basically try to educate people like, you see what's happening here, if you find yourself in a position like this, then you have to disconnect. Like, if I was educated back then, even though there was no need for that, as you said, the rule was pretty clear, but I didn't know about it. Like, I'm not the one reading the rule books and stuff like that. People send like a 50 pages rule book with a bunch of stuff. Like, unfortunately, I'm not the one reading all those massive rule books. But I was aware from the very beginning that, yes, I cannot break the integrity of the game. But if back in the days, people were more communicating that more, they made it clear, like, hey, this is happening and stuff like that, then I'm sure my case and some of the other cases would never actually happen. Because as soon as that happened, I would be like, oh, there's actually this tweet from Faceit, like, I have to disconnect. Boom, I would disconnect. And that raises me the question, like, why Faceit has never addressed it, ECS, or whatever admin it was, like, why this has never been made more, why this has never got the attention it should have, way back in the days. That I don't understand as well. And still up until today, I don't see anyone from Faceit or ECS or any admins coming forward to say like, well, whatever happened. So there's a bunch of points that are not connecting for me still up until today. And talking specifically about my case, I think it's pretty clear that, as I already said, like, I think my biggest mistake was not disconnecting immediately. I did not share any information with my team. I was able to prove that towards ESIC, collected enough evidence to, basically tell them, like, even from the opponents who were playing against me, they basically all testified in my favor, saying like, it's not a big deal. Like, I mean, in my case particularly, it was an equal round at the beginning of the game, like, and that it wouldn't make sense for me to cheat and try to gain advantage in that specific moment in the game. Like, like I wouldn't risk my career, my integrity just because of one equal round in an online game that really didn't really matter that much. Like, it doesn't make sense, compared to some of the other cases out there who are like blatant, right? Like the Akuma coach, for example, like all those massive cases like Hunden, for example, and then during my situation with ESIC, like, and then the fact that ESIC wanted to ban me for 2 years, that's also like was also absurd to me. Like, I got this letter from ESIC 3 or 4 days before the major, basically telling me that they wanted to ban me for 2 years. Again, like, for me, it doesn't make sense. Like, how are they going to judge me and treat me as one of the worst cases they ever had because of that one round? And then I was trying to compare myself with some of the other cases. Like, for me, just the way they handle all the cases and the way they apply these punishments, the length of the punishments and stuff, like, it never really did make much sense. And now I just want to say this to you as well. Like, then I'm sharing a lot of problems, right? A lot of like situations where, I'm basically criticizing ESIC for the way they behave. And then you're probably going to ask me like, yeah, then what have you done to try and change it? And I actually, before I even got them banned, I offered myself to ESIC to be more, to try to help them some way, because I am experienced as a coach. They should actually get some more people from the scene with experience to actually help them judging these cases in a more fair way towards everybody, even offer them to maybe review some of the other cases. And basically what I get back is just zero communication. Like, it just feels like I'm talking to Valve. Like, they don't, even though I offer help, and I know some other people from back in from the scene also offer them help. One of them is Enders. Like, I know Enders for a fact has tried to talk to them multiple times, tried to offer himself to be one of the main guys, like, helping them to judge these cases. And from my understanding, like, it doesn't feel like they even want the help. So, I mean, yeah, it's just terrible the way that they handle all of this. And even more the fact that apparently they don't need it, or they don't want help from the community to judge some of the cases.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.